Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Game Emporium, where some friends have gathered around the table to talk about some board games. I almost said play some Dungeons and Dragons because that's the other thing that we talk about on this channel. It's the thing we do. We are back for Top of the Box, where we are talking about our next batch of top 50 games of all time. This is 45 to 41.
Got it.
I'm Luke. That is Ross.
Hey.
And yeah, we're just talking about board games. We're just seeing where we are on this list. So if you haven't checked out our 50 to 46, what are you doing here? Go watch that. Then come back and watch this one. Or watch them in any order.
Well, yeah, I'd say it would be either just randomise or maybe want to count down to the worst.
Shuffle.
Maybe, I don't know. Might be in a way.
We'll see what happens. Watch it in reverse. Just put it on reverse time. I don't know. It'd be weird to do it that way. It would be like summoning a Satan. So yeah, we're going to go through our next 5 games each that we think are the best. And yeah, there's no faffing about it. We kind of know where we're going with this one. So let's dive straight into it with number 45.
My 45? Cool. I wonder where this is on your list, actually. So again, this is sort of it gained a few places. I think it wasn't quite in my top 50 last year, but it was not far off. Is Clans of Caledonia. And it's one that's really slowly creeping up my list because I just sort of stealth enjoying it almost. I think I struggled with the system before and actually understanding the strategy behind it and what to do. And I think it's probably going to be one that for quite a long time is going to be sitting around that, let's just say, 40 to 60 kind of group in my sort of top games. So essentially you play as a Scottish clansman, but clan as a whole. So it gives you a bit of an async power. You are putting workers on the board to get you income. You're putting out sheep and cows, and then to get some basic resources. And then you're also putting out some factories and process goods. There's some set scoring each round, so you're trying to achieve those objectives each round. You essentially have some money that you're using to, then you're to place those things out on the board. You're trying to a little bit area control, kind of box people out from certain areas, fulfill some contracts that you have based on the resources that you've been collecting from the things that you're putting onto the board. I know we say this every time, so it's really boring that I'm saying it again, but it's a lot of game in a very quite compact box as well, which is always quite good.
It's a really small box, yeah.
So yeah, just a nice little. I say nice little strategy. It's a nice little strategy. It's a nice little size box strategy game, but maybe slightly more of a complex one. But yeah, really solid contender for games. I think it'll always sit around that kind of game that I quite like to play spot.
Yeah. It's one that it's dropped off for me, I think, because I haven't played it physically. So I've played a lot of it on Board Game Arena in the last year or so. I think it was in my top 20. I think it was 26 last time. It's dropped to 126.
Ooh.
That's not a slight on the game necessarily, but it is. I think it's because I have overplayed it on Board Game Arena, and I really enjoy that game when I can play it physically, and I can just go, okay, I'll put my sheep here. I can see what
you said this before.
Doing.
Yeah.
I can see what my clan's doing. I can manipulate them. I can actually physically manipulate the market and know what's happening. You don't have the turn-based lag. There's some construction going on outside, so apologies if you can hear that. And there's just more that you can do with this game, I think, if you're playing it physically, and you can feel like you're playing it physically and you can understand it a little bit better. What I am looking forward to is when the expansion finally gets done. I don't know if the Kickstarter for that has already happened or if it's due to happen. I know that the expansion is available on Tabletop Simulator somewhere. There's a mod for it somewhere. I think I've got it. I've downloaded it. I just haven't got around to it. But yeah, there's going to be some more clans and more stuff in there to maybe change things up a little bit, which will make it interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of game in there. I do enjoy Clans of Caledonia. I just need to play it physically, I think.
Yeah.
That's my big thing.
I'm just looking for you. Clans of Caledonia Dustria has not yet launched.
There you go. So yeah, that'll happen at some point. My number 45 is another new to me game. It's the second one that has entered the list, and the first of 2 that is in this bracket of 5. This is the only Uwe Rosenberg game that appears on my top 50 list, and this is Hallertau. Hallertau is a game that popped up on my radar because it got into a weird bidding war with itself. So there were two providers, Amazon and Zatu, that were
Yeah.
both selling it ridiculously cheap for some reason, and they just kept battling down to get into a low price. It ended up being like 25 quid. I was like, I'll pick this up, I'll give it a go. And I played it, and I loved it. It's what it is a worker placement game where you're putting out blue cubes into a farm and doing different bits and pieces on this farm to score you points and basically manipulate your farm in such a way that you want to gain resources so that you can sow seeds into your field, harvest those off, keep sheep going, get various other resources floating around, and move the town village hall to the right by moving boulders and just sort of shuffling it along by providing goods into these 5 different houses or points of industry where you're just sort of boosting them up. And I really enjoy the puzzle of it because you can get some stupid points from it. Because if you can get that village hall all the way across, it's like 135 points for just doing that, or 70 or something. It's just a ridiculous amount of points for doing it. But it's very satisfying to go, okay, I can do this and then this and then this and then this. But the whole aspect of the game is the cards that you play can really influence your decision making and your strategy, because you can get contracts that you just basically fulfill, and they will give you either an income power or they'll give you an immediate bonus of just a trade, effectively trading a sheep for 6 wool, something obscene like that. Endgame scoring cards, which will give you massive points if you do it, and it's just trying to manipulate your workers so that you can get what you need to do. And all the workers are blue cubes, so the actions aren't necessarily blocked off, but it will become more expensive to go to those actions. So it's just a really smooth worker placement game, I think. And it's one that I hadn't played until the summer of last year. So it's been about a year since I first played it, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's really, really fun. And the solo mode is really simple as well, which I like. So
it's quite nice the way the cards feed into each other, typically. So you can get... Well, you got some of the cards which are like you draw a new card basically, but you can like get some stuff off the back of that card, first card being played. Yeah, it's funny because I had someone being like, "Oh yeah, I hate the fact I have to feed my family with most of his other games." Yeah, and you're not the only one who said that, but it made me really laugh because I saw someone post it. I think it was on like a Facebook group, basically saying, "Oh, it's the first game I don't have to feed someone. This is so nice." And someone's like, "But you're basically feeding your shed." Was basically what they then said, because you're dumping resources in it. But it's less critical. That's the important thing. It's less critical. But you probably won't win if you also don't move your shovel. But yeah, it's good. I say the worker placement element where you're not really got a worker that you're placing. It's just cubes, and the actions are you don't get locked out of an action typically. You just become more expensive the more people are doing it. I think it's a really nice way of doing it. So you're not too scuppered by what other people are doing, but you maybe just have to tweak your strategy slightly if other people are making that action too expensive. So there's some nice extra decision making involved, which is good.
Yeah, I like it. It's good fun. Okay, that's our 45s. Let's go to 44. My number 44 is another one that's dropped a little bit by probably virtue of just not playing it recently. And this is Role Player. So Role Player is a game where you are rolling dice, you're drafting dice to put into building effectively a D&D character. So you can gain these different attributes of strength, charisma, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, and intelligence. And you're just trying to get these dice into a particular pattern. And the way that you're drafting the dice makes a difference because the position and the colour can impact it. So when you put them in, each of the attributes has got a different ability that will either, strength, for example, flips a die over so you can change it from a 5 to a 2 if you really needed to. Certain attributes on your character sheet will say, well, if you target this, if you get 18 exactly, you will get 4 points. But if you get 6 on this one, you'll also get 3 points. So you have to try and manage that. You've got a alignment tracker that works best for your character, so you have to try and figure out whether you want to be lawful good or chaotic neutral, that sort of thing. Sorry about that. Slight technical difficulty, just cut me off mid-sentence. So, Role Player is... You've just got all sorts of different things that you are able to do with these dice. You can buy equipment and do all sorts of fun little stuff with it to make this D&D character. And the Monsters and Minions expansion gives you a monster to fight at the end of it. But the character that you build, you can also port into Roleplayer Adventures, which is a game that I've picked up recently. I've not yet had a chance to play, but you get to run an entire campaign through it. And Thunderworks Games has done a nice way of connecting all of their different bits and pieces together. So you've got cartographers and role player; they're all part of the same universe. So it's quite interesting to see how that goes. I just haven't played it recently. Just want to play it more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have I don't know, a huge amount to throw in off the back of that, really. So I think you kind of come with the main points, to be fair there. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Ross, what's your number 44?
My number 44 is one of your preferred games. I don't really know what I'm after. They're not favourite game. Well, one of your favourite-ish games. And I don't think appeared on my list last time. And if I'm being very blunt, I didn't know which one was which last time I think I made this list.
So this is the West Kingdom game.
It is a West Kingdom game. It's Paladins of the West Kingdom, though.
Okay.
So, okay, I mean, you're probably going to be better off explaining it because you love it so much. But basically, you've got a deck of Paladins. They all get shuffled up. You draw 2. You put one on the bottom so you can sort of future plan a little bit what's going to coming up. And then you take the other one, and that lets you essentially improves the action or the thing that you can be doing in that turn. Another wonderful worker placement-esque bit here, but it's mostly about taking stuff off your personal board and putting it onto the main board. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. You get some resources and stuff back. Like I say, my favourite bit really is that decision-making around the Paladin cards, trying to plan a little bit for what's coming up later. My one frustration, I've always got at least one frustration with the game. My one big thing with the game is we played it recently, 3-player, and both you and the other player had, I can't remember which card it is now, which is probably, it wasn't that bad then, but had quite a good card early on. I think it was the one where you can get like your red buildings out. Basically out really cheap. You both had that really early on, and I didn't get it until maybe like the third quarter of the game or something like that, and it was basically too late at that point, which meant you both got quite a significant head jump start on your engines than I did.
Yes.
So that was a bit of a frustration, I guess, off the back of it. But a really good game. One of my preferred ones out of the West Kingdoms. I don't think Architects anywhere near on the sort of 50s here because I find that less entertaining. And we'll see where Vice Captain is. I know it's in here somewhere. I just don't know where. I can't remember where it got placed. But it's again, it's a good game. It's just a little tweak, maybe, just would have made it better. I think. A bit more control.
Sure. I think Paladins is going to come up again later for me, for sure, because it is still high. It was my number 1 last time. So we'll see where it ends up in this batch. I really enjoy it. I think it's a really good game. I think the issue we had last time we had played this, when we did this list last time, you and I played it with the expansion.
Yes.
The first, the one of the most recent times we played it didn't necessarily help for you. And we played it more recently as part of the Tome Saga, which meant there was some async powers being thrown around in them, which made a real difference there. So it can throw things up. But I do quite enjoy Paladins as well. Right, that's our number 44, so let's go to 43.
43. This I think this has replaced Galaxy Trucker in my top 50. Ooh. I think because it's a similar sort of game.
I think I know what it is,
but it just does it slightly differently, which is Steampunk Rally.
Yes.
So it's the Fusion Atomic Edition, whatever, Steampunk Rally Fusion Atomic Edition, essentially. But you're a inventor or scientist typically of the history. You have a starting machine. Think Wacky Racers-esque thing. You're buying components essentially, or you're drafting components, I should say more clearly, into your machine, and you're all racing, and you're really like cobbling together these kind of crazy contraptions essentially to try push you over the finish line. It's similar to Galaxy Trucker. I think it's slightly weirdly slightly easier to explain, I think, than Galaxy Trucker, because it's kind of like handicraft. You pick one, you pass it around, rather than have to explain kind of every component and all the nuances in Galaxy Trucker. Mm-hmm. It's definitely easier theme to sell, I think, than Galaxy Trucker tends to be.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it's so I think if we're Galaxy Trucker and All This, I think kind of really are sitting the same, but this one just slightly ekes out. So if there's a point, what is it? What are we on? 43.5. It would probably be Galaxy Trucker or something like that, I think.
The theme of Steampunk Rally is a little bit more entertaining because it's effectively a race that you're doing rather than just trying to gather loot and deal with the random events that destroy your thing. At least everything that could destroy your own race car, it's your own fault. Or the dice roll, rather than a flip of
You
a
got
card
more
that
control
happens
of it,
to
right?
hit.
You can choose whether you're going to be pushing your luck essentially to try and get around the corner where you're more likely to take more damage. You can choose that path that you want to take the shortcut, but you're going to take more damage. So,
it's one of those things. So, I enjoy it. It's not quite in my top 15. It's number 53 for me. It's just dropped off.
Okay.
Played it quite recently, though. Played it last weekend, which was after I'd run this list. So, it might be a little higher now. Who knows? My number 43 is another new to me game, and it's another game it's a game that you introduced to me. It is the only Lacerda that is on my list. This is Weather Machine.
No.
Just snuck in. So Weather Machine is a game where it'll probably come up on Ross's list much higher, but it's a game where you are effectively trying to do something about the weather, and you're trying to develop this weather machine that is in play. So you are taking different actions to go around and gain gears to put into the machine. You're trying to build out these robots that boost your engine. You're trying to maneuver these different levers effectively to try and affect these events. You're trying to fix the weather machine so that it will benefit you, and then write scientific articles and journals and publish a paper about it, and actually make a difference to a meteorological event to try and just change things up. I really like it. I like it as Lacerda games are pretty much do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. And I think the one that we got stuck on was Kanban, where it wasn't that was very linear, that you had to start in a particular area. And if you didn't go there to begin with, you were slightly screwed. Whereas with Weather Machine, you can kind of start from anywhere and still find a way to loop back in. And I've played it twice now. We played 2/3 of a game very wrongly at AC West. And then we played it again recently at the pub as a 4-player game, where I think the frustration I had with it was the AP that was being had by some of the other players.
Slowed it down a bit.
Which did slow it down a bit, which I think if it was you and I playing a 2-player game, we would probably smash through it relatively quickly.
Probably.
But it is I like it. It's a very good game. I think it's one of the more pretty games that Tool has done for the Lacerda games, because it tends to do all of the artwork for it. I'm liking Tool's art. It's just very, very pretty, and I really enjoy Weather Machine. I think it's fun.
Much higher, I think, much higher up on my list. I think there's going to be a lot of Lacerdas scattered through my list, which is probably no surprise to anyone. But yeah, it is. I think actually, weirdly, it's the one theme that I think is maybe the weakest, actually, potentially, because it's harder to explain to people why. Basically, a mad scientist has broken the weather, and then the government's decided to give him more money and opportunity to fix the weather, but part of you doing that, part of the game, is that you can still continue to break the weather, basically. So it's just a bit like clunky in that sense of trying to explain to people why we're doing the thing we're doing. And then a lot of the question I always get off the back of it is, is this a co-op game then? We're all trying to fix the weather together. And I'm a bit like, no, not really. The best I can say is we're all working in the same lab, but we're trying to be the best scientist out of all of the scientists, basically.
Yeah, you want to play the co-op version of that breaking the weather, you want to play CO2. So,
but yeah, definitely the prettiest one. Yeah, absolutely. I think you talked about being able to jump in at any point. You can jump into that cycle essentially at any point. And there's a couple of actions which are locked out for quite a lot of the game until you get to a tipping point on some of the other bits. But
that was frustrating. Yeah, I think. It took us a very long time to get to those.
But I think
unlocked actions
with a bit more knowledge about how the game strategy works and play, I think you could get to that point much quicker. I think we were being a bit clunky with some of the decision making, really.
What's your 43? Or have you already said it? You've already said it, haven't you?
I have. It was Steampunk.
So in which case, let's go to 42. My number 42 is a game that I'm surprised it stayed this high, given that I haven't actually played it since before we did the last list. It's been on my, I want to play this game, I want to play this game. And somehow it's actually risen. I don't know how that's happened. I think it just might have been a little bit of that, I want to play this game more. Welcome to Cube World, where we are playing as cubes, rolling dice and trying to race around the track. This is Cubitos, or however you want to pronounce it. It's a game where you are cube people running around the track, a racetrack, just trying to do things. It's a push or luck game where you're going to roll the dice that have different powers that are set up. And for each die that you roll, you can kind of go, okay, I'm going to roll these 8. As long as you get one face that you can transfer the course, most of the faces are blank on these dice.
Yeah.
If you roll all blanks, you bust, but you can continue to re-roll and push as far as you can, getting coins, so you can buy more dice, getting helping hands that give you some little bonuses, all sorts of like fun little things that will just help you get around this track faster. I just really enjoy it because it's just silly chaos that you just simultaneously go, and everyone just starts chucking dice and running around things. And yeah, I want to play it again soon because I got the Foul Play expansion, which just brings in some more dice colours and some more cards that can be used for these different powers. And it's just a lot of fun. And I haven't played it in a long time, and I really want to because I miss it. I just want to see if the nostalgia of playing that game holds up. Because I do really enjoy it, I just haven't played it for a while.
And you can add that to your games that Ross needs to play flag.
List.
Because I'm sure last year when we did this list, we said, hey, that's a game that I should really get around to playing. And then we never did. So,
we've got a couple of game days coming up, so maybe we'll do that.
We can clock off. For me, 42 even, is another game. There's a reason why I said that. 42 is another game that's dropped quite significantly, 32 places, is Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, I really enjoyed Battlestar Galactica. I quite like the theme of it. I've watched the show a long time ago, but I enjoy it. It's a much longer social deduction game, but you don't feel as weak when you reveal yourself as being the bad guy, really. Essentially, you're all locked on a ship. Some of you are robots pretending to be humans. The humans are trying to escape. The robots are trying to sabotage that, essentially. But it's a copy of a game that I've sold because I don't get to play it that frequently, and I know people who have got a copy of it. You do need the right group of people really willing to commit like 3 hours to a social deduction game, essentially, to play it. The theme, I think, is strong even if you don't know the TV show. I think you can still get into it. But it's just kind of a combination of all those things, which means it's still a great game for me. I really enjoy it. But it's just fallen a little bit down on the list, really. It's not as big of a priority if someone suggested playing it.
And I think the copy I have, which is Unfathomable, which is the re-implementation of it just with a Cthulhu. Basically, they lost the IP, I think, is what happened there. So they just went, let's go Cthulhu, which I quite enjoy. I think it is a good little game. Social deductions are not my favourite type of games, but I like to play them from time to time. And this one at least has a good way that you can hide. As well as like you're interfering with the events that are happening. You've got a decent way you can hide it in that game. So it's good fun. So that is our 42. So this is coming up to our last one of this list. And rounding out this batch of 10. So let's see what's on our number 41s.
You ready? Are you steady?
Go on.
I'm really hyping it up, but it's not going to be that hype of a game. So I'm just... it's Troy's. So, So I have a physical copy. Still not had a chance to actually play it physically. I think I would prefer it physically. I think I'd wrap my brain around the puzzle a little bit more. A little bit like you were saying with... What game were you just saying that with?
Clans of Caledonia.
Yes. Anyway, but basically you have a square. You control a segment of that town square. Sorry, I should be saying. Then you have control a segment of that town square. You have dice in there that you can use. You can use other people's dice to do that. You have some objectives or some quests and some other bits that you're trying to complete around the outside. You can spend your dice to essentially unlock better powers for doing that. And then you all have... there's some secret objectives. and you score for your secret objectives and your opponent's secret objectives, but also you don't know what your opponent's secret objectives are, so you're kind of trying to suss out a little bit in play, which I think a physical game I think would be more obvious as well, that people are going for a particular strategy. And yeah, it's just one that it's sort of, as I say, it's sitting up there. It's one I want to understand the strategy a little bit more of, so I can get a little bit more and really make a decision about this is a game I do or don't like. Because at the moment it's kind of a curiosity pick, which is like this is a game that I quite enjoy playing, but I haven't quite grasped the strategy behind it. And maybe I'm just like enjoying it because I'm trying to suss it out. And as soon as I figured out this is kind of how the game works, I'll be like, okay, it's boring now. But maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be like, oh, there's more depth to it. So
yeah. And I think one of the things that helps it is there's all these different events that happen, that like military events that will trigger. So the dice have got different colours. They're either members of the clergy, they're militia, or they are just commoners doing something, maybe merchants. And the different colours do different things. Different cards will get revealed, and you can trigger these different powers to them, build different steps of the cathedral, all sorts of interesting stuff. I think the thing that, for me, because I had a copy of it, and I sold it, not to you, because I had never played it by that point, which is hilarious how many times it's happened that I've sold a game. You've gone, oh, I've now got this game. And I go, dude.
To be fair, my copy it was relatively cheap with the expansion attached to it as well. So.
It was, and it was significantly after I got rid of my copy. So, I enjoyed it the second time I played it, because Laura and I played it once. Neither of us were particularly okay on it. We thought, we'll play it again before we sell it, just to see what we think of it. We enjoyed it more the second time we played it, because we understood what was happening a little bit better. And then we just still said, I still enjoyed that experience. I don't need to play this or have this in my experience. And it's on BGA, so we could at least do that. Now you have it, so we'll see whether we give that a go. My number 41, I think, is going to be higher on your list, because I know you really like this game, and it will probably pop up later on. This is the Roll and Write of all Roll and Writes, because it gets all of the different realms mixed in together. This is Rolling Realms.
Yeah. It is on my list.
Yeah, it's Rolling Realms. So Rolling Realms is the Stonemaier roll and write game, effectively, where you are going off into different realms over these 3 rounds. So over the first round, you'll have 3 different realms, which will be based on other board games. And you're going to roll the dice, and over the course of 9 turns, I think it is, you will fill in those pairs of dice onto 2 of your cards and try and score the different objectives on those cards. Then you'll put those away, and you'll deal 3 more cards out, and then you'll put those away, and you'll put 3 more cards out, and you'll go through it over 3 rounds, 27 turns or however many it is, and just see how you score. You're gaining different resources, which can help you manipulate the dice virtually rather than physically. And there is now such a huge variety of games available for you to put these in. Not just Stonemaier games, so things like Architects of the West Kingdom, Ark Nova, other games that are all available within this. Boon Lake as an example, and Apiary, and all sorts of really well-known games have been made into this smaller version. They've been given the license to do this, and there's a Redux version that's coming out later this year. I think it's coming out like the autumn, which will have 12 new ones, and it will have a solo campaign in there, and it will have storage solution for putting everything that's ever going to be published and ever will be published, so you can just sort of slot those in. And I think Stonemaier have hit on a very neat ongoing solution, like with Final Girl, like with Unmatched, like with Dice Throne, where you can just have little bits. You can just add in eternal expansions that you can just throw in there. They're like 6 cards for a $5, basically, on Stonemeier's website. You can just go, okay, this is a different version of a game. I can just throw that in and shuffle it into the pack, and it will come out eventually. And I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. We played it the day after my wedding with Laura and her sister and her husband, and it was just a case of, this is how this game works, and we were just straight into it. It's not difficult to explain. Take these numbers, write them down. We had a small tantrum, but that's because Arthur didn't roll the dice. So that happens. But
we had an official
dice.
If you don't play with toddler, we took his job away from him.
We did. That was unfortunate, but he got it back, so it's fine. So yeah, that's it. Rolling Realms.
I don't really have much more to add beyond what you've kind of just said there. I do really enjoy it. I think it is slightly further up my list. It's the one that I'm looking to pick up once that Redux one comes out, basically, and I probably will then be purchasing all the extras to go on it. I love that it's a board game with board games in it, because that's quite meta in a fun way that you can reference stuff. You can pick your favourite board games out of it and play those or whatever it may be. Yeah, and I'm a fan of roguelites, right? That's not necessarily a secret. If you've ever spoken to me about board games, that's probably quite obvious, but yeah.
Cool. So that's it. That is our number 41 to 45 of our top 50 games of all time. We're going to be doing some more of these videos, so if you want to follow along, let us know in the comments below what have been your games in this bracket, and like and subscribe so that you can keep track of where we go next and what the next games are going to be. And until next time, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again very soon here at the Game Emporium. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Bye.